Hey everybody, welcome to Fit Tip Tuesday. Today I want to demystify why some people have good luck with working using top down center out to fit their pants while others do not. Now this pants fitting method was initially introduced to us in Threads magazine article 218 written by Ruth Collins, and it turns out that it's an elegant way to balance the front and back leg. If you've been following along with me, you know I've been trying to make this method work for all patterns on everybody all the time. And I want to share with you my final point of view on this topic after working with it for about a year now. I have worked with this method with women of all shapes and sizes, and I've worked with them with wide leg pants. Specifically, I got the peppermint wide leg pant from Peppermint magazine and inside and in the folds, which is a wonderful wide leg pattern, and it's a really great pattern to start playing with this method. And then I moved on and I started working with some of my patterns, including my very fitted jeans and my Sorsha Classic Slim trousers. And no matter what size you are, no matter what shape you are, this is what I've discovered. All right, so you can see here, what I did was I drew the basic shape of a crotch. Now, it isn't a significantly low or prominent or anything else. I just drew the shape of even what you would consider an average crotch. Here's where the inseam would sit. This is the front, this is the back. When we put this crotch shape up here, you can see that if you're working with a wider leg pant with longer crotch extensions, the crotch is going to hover below your body, okay? And you can use the steps of from the top in the center, meaning center front, center back, to adjust like this, either higher in the back, lower in the back, higher in the front, lower in the back. You can work with that to get your leg to hang properly from your fitting waistband, and you can transfer all of your adjustments that you made to that fit muzzle into your pattern and cut out your wide leg pants. It really works very easily for that. Now, what I've discovered happens is if you're working with a pants pattern that is a more slender fitting leg, the crotch extensions are going to be shorter and the crotch is going to be closer up next to your body. And in some cases, the crotch touches you all the way through. Now, in those cases, this is where we get into trouble, or this is where top down center out does not work in every situation. And I just want to sort of illustrate to you why that is. Now, if you're imagining here, I'm pulling my back or my front up and down to get the inseam to hang straight. And I have my two mirrors set up going. I can see what's going on in the back as I'm adjusting the front and vice versa. What happens is, as we get the back up to where it should be, okay, and you can see that now the back is hitting the curve of the back of my butt. What happens is, a lot of times, if your shape does not agree with the pattern shape, you end up with a gap between your body and the front crotch, and usually it ends up being way too low for you. Now, what do we do about this? And this is what I've really been focusing on the past few weeks during a few classes I've had both in person and on Zoom. What do you do when you've pulled up the back long enough or high enough so that it hangs nicely, your front is hanging nicely, the fabric is draping wonderfully on your back, on your legs, but you have this gaposis in the front? The first thing you're going to do is you're going to try to pick up that fabric by pleating it out at center front. So if we were to pretend that, let's say the zipper seam allowance starts about here. Okay, you don't want to make adjustments in the crotch area itself to pick it up. I could pleat up this fabric and pull it up like this. Now you're noticing as I'm pleating it up, the fabric is now agreeing with the curve because I'm picking it up. Now, if you can do that, you would create a pleat here, and you would go to 0 at the side seam, just like this. And of course, you can do this on your single leg muslin. Okay, so if you can pull it up here, you know, and then go to 0 at the side seam, that's wonderful. And sometimes you can. Okay, so pleating it up, you can see that picks up the space between you and your muslin. But if you pick it up like this, and then it creates wrinkles on the back leg, then that is not going to work. And this is where we start to get into trouble, because we had a beautiful drape and we had a lovely fit when the crotch curve was hanging too low, right? This looks lovely, but it's not comfortable. And if your front crotch curve is too low, it creates tightness across your knee and upper thigh when you're walking and sitting, because the hinge that you need to move is too far away from your body. So what I've discovered here is you can just move up or fill in the pattern instead of drawing everything up. So if you've already tried to pull the fabric up from the waist to get it to agree, and it messes the back leg up, or if you tried pleating it out like I just showed, like this, and it messes the back leg up, well, the next thing you can do is take a piece of scrap fabric, and I'm literally just going to stick it in here, and I'm going to pretend that I zigzagged it on. So literally, I'm just going to pin it onto my fit muslin like this. All right, and then I'm going to sort of measure what I need in terms of the height. So I'm just going to get this all lined up so that the back is in position. Okay, and then I'm just going to reach in here and I'm going to find where that front was. So essentially it's about here that we need to fill in to get it to agree. So something like this. All right, and then you can see what we're creating here is a more angled transition from front to back. So now this pattern will reach up to the front and fill in the gap between your body and you. And I'm basically just going to cut this out so you can see what I mean. And here's the cool thing. If you sew this onto your actual fit muslin, you can try it on and you can determine how much you need to add in length. So you can see in this case, I needed to add about 1/2 inch to get the curve to sit against the base of my crotch, or from my, you know, the space between my legs, between the base of the curve here and the curve in the front. So notice how that's now laying very nicely. So if this works and you now have fixed the problem of the front crotch curve hanging down too low and you filled it in, here's the cool thing. You haven't dragged the fabric anywhere. You haven't pulled it up or pushed it down. All you've done is filled in the gap between you and the pattern, and you can adjust your pattern piece before you cut out your second leg and try the 2-leg muslin. And the good news is you will be able to sew it on because you've already added it here, so you'll be able to redirect your inseam, meaning if this was my final answer, I'm going to go through and I'm going to, let me just move this out of the way for a second. you can remark your 1/2 inch. So starting from wherever you needed to do that, I'm just going to remark my 1/2 inch. And you can see now you've got a stitching line that you can stitch it to. Until it gets back to its original over here. So basically now there's my new stitching line, right? Reflecting what I added to the leg. Now how do I transfer this onto my paper pattern? Let me show you that. So these are the little mini pattern pieces that I made for this example. And you can see in this example, we really didn't need to add anything to the back and only a little bit in the front, but this works even if you need to add a lot to the front. Check out this adjustment here. This is a completed adjustment that I had one of my pants fitting students do. She did it, she tested it, and then she made a new muslin, and it worked beautifully. And this is a private pants fitting student, so I'm so sorry I can't share the picture of her in her muslin. I forgot to snap it during our private Zoom, but look at how she added 2 inches in the front and 0 at the back. So you can customize this adjustment to really be where you need it to be. So what I'm going to do here is I am going to tape together my inseams like this. I'm just going to tape them together so they don't slide around. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw myself a guideline. Now notice I'm going straight down my center front to about 1 inch or so below the crotch. I'm going to come straight across, and then I'm going to draw a similar line here, again keeping with the angle of the back. I'm just going to draw that like that. And then I'm going to cut that out. Now when I cut it out, I'm literally just going to cut out those pieces. And I'm doing both the front and the back because in many cases you're going to need to adjust the back a little bit as well. In this case, I really don't, but basically what I'm going to do here is I'm going to measure how much I added over here in the curve so we can see that that's about a 1/2 inch, right? So what I'm going to do here is I am going to take this scrap of paper and I'm going to tape it to my legs. All right, so I'm literally just going to tape it here. I'm just trying to find something that has a slightly different color. So I'm just going to tape that to here. And I'm going to tape it to here, like this. All right, and then I'm going to take what I cut and I'm going to draw myself a 1/2 inch up here, right? Because we needed to add a 1/2 inch. And then I'm going to, oops, tape this back in place like this. Now I don't want these to be taped together, so I'm going to raise my front separately from my back. So there's my front. And I'm just going to tape this in place like this. And then I'm going to come over here, and I didn't need to add any in the back, right? So I'm going to keep this so it's a pivot at my very center back. And basically what I want to do is I need to line these up so that they meet at, you know, at the same level at the tips of the crotch, right? Because they have to sew back together. So I'm just going to tape that down. Okay, so you can see what I've done here is I've added the 1/2 inch to raise this a 1/2 inch. And I did add more in here than I may need. But here's the cool thing. I can just skim that back off if I don't need it. But what I want to show you here is, this is really important, I'm going to continue my inseam straight up. So I'm lining my ruler up, and I'm just going to just draw that, which continues my inseam straight up. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this out like this, and I'm going to separate my two pieces like this, and you can see what we end up with is a crotch shape that is now going to be more in agreement. I just want to show you that I've created a similar shape to what I marked here. So I'm just going to pin these at a 1/2 inch. Oops. And I'm going to get this to lay flat. I'm just going to basically fold it over like this. So it's not perfect, but basically what I want to show you here now is if I lay that on top of my fabric sample, lining up my inseams, you can see we've picked up the pattern. See how that agrees now? Let's flip it over and let's do it from this side here. Oh, well, let me put this, let me put this underneath here. You can look at it this way too. Okay, you can see that now my muslin is matching my new adjusted pattern. So I just wanted to show you that if I add that, it makes it agree shape-wise. We've lifted it up. Because see, I've got it matching at the hem and I've got it matching at the crotch. And you can see that it's up there and it's agreeing. And it's kind of awkward to look at it this way, but my point is, now I can take this adjusted pattern, cut out my second set of legs, and sew them to my initial single leg muslin, because I've also added the same amount of fabric to the muslin, and you can test fit it and you can do any fine tuning you need to do. But this is going to prevent you from losing the good work you did when you were using the 5 steps of top down center out to balance the front and back leg. Now, the other thing that I've noticed about working with a pattern and a body is that there are certain things that you can see in the mirror, and if you can see them in the mirror and you know they're going to be an issue in your pants fitting, you can adjust them before you start fitting. So taking the time to do some of these body specific adjustments really saves time to fit the pattern after you've balanced the leg. So I just wanted to share this with you because I am meeting lots of pants fitting students who say things to me like, oh, I don't understand why I see people being successful with top down center out, and I don't understand why I can't be successful with top down center out. Or people will say to me things like, you know, I'm 5'1" and I've got these different body issues and I'm really worried that top down center out isn't going to work for me. Well, the good news is top down center out will work for everybody to balance the front and back leg. If you're lucky enough to have a crotch shape that matches the crotch shape of the pattern, you can fit that pattern completely by using top down center out and maybe a few fine tweaking things at the end, but it's going to be your primary way to fit pants. But if your shape is significantly different than the pattern, that's where you're going to need to spend some time dealing with the position of the crotch curve after you've balanced the front and back leg. I just wanted to shine some light on why people are getting mixed results using top down center out, and I want to say that it works amazing for everybody to balance your front and back leg. meaning to get that crotch vertically correct front and back with itself, meaning with the front and back leg. So you can pick either the front or the back to line up that crotch with, and usually you're going to go with whatever the lower curve is, and 99 times out of 100 it's the back curve, right? So you get yourself hanging and draping beautifully from your waist. If the front crotch is too low at that point and you can't pick it up any other way, so try to pleat it out, try to pull it up at the center front waist after you've got everything nice and organized, and see if you can pull it up. If you can't, that means the curve of the crotch is not agreeing with you, so fill it in and make it agree. All right, so that's what I wanted to talk about today. Going forward, I'm going to be working on more fitting things on Fit Tip Tuesday, but I think I'm done with my body specific series. I think I've covered everything that I want to cover there. So next week there'll be a new topic, but I hope you enjoyed this little fit tip. If you have any questions or comments, please post those below and I will help you. Tomorrow during subscriber Q&A, I will be answering a subscriber's question, but I haven't picked it out yet, so it'll be a surprise. And then on Friday, we are moving on with the bias sew along. And if you had been following along with me, I showed you a few different versions of my biased V-neck top I'm working on. I'm going to be taking a closer look at the armholes on Friday. So join me for that. And I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you so much for watching.